This podcast is brought to you today by Crisp Kickboxing, Muay Thai and MMA, along with grappling and jiu-jitsu right here in Visalia, California.
All right, Joy Ann Pendell, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Um, Man, Joy, it's been a long time since we talked. How long has it been since I've known
Yeah.
you?
I think the first interview we did was before my fight with Julia Alonso. So that would have been my first amateur title fight or state title fight. So that would have been in December of 2021, I believe. I think it was December
Man,
of
and that
2021.
amateur fight, was that in 559 fights?
Yeah, it was for the Camo welterweight title. That was the first time we did an interview. We've known each other for longer than that, but that was the first time we did an interview, a fight interview. And then, um, and then I think the last interview we did was almost a year ago before my most recent fight with Carlene.
So, so Carlene, is that who you're fighting next?
Yeah, I get my rematch with Carlene Chandler. Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's going to be awesome. We're going to talk
yeah. So
about that
that's
more.
yes. So that's September
That's great.
6th. That's right around the corner. So 3 weeks. Can't wait. Ever since the last fight, I mean, I've just wanted that rematch, and I've had 2 fights since then to earn that rematch, 2 wins. So 2-1, and looking to make it 3-1.
All right, and it looks like you're on the right track to do so. Um, you were actually one of the first guests that me and Archie did for the MMA Fight Pass podcast, guys. And Chris Ronquillo, he was one of the guys that got it started. You guys can still check out MMA Fight Pass videos. We got all kinds of great interviews from Joy to Randy Couture and all in between. We got all these great legends on there, and the Tom Owen Show is a new podcast that I'm doing, guys. And not only will I be interviewing fighters like Joy, I got all types of other walks of life, from ultra runners to people in the military to people around the world that I've met through the internet. It's going to be really cool. So you guys can help me subscribe to the Tom Owen Show on YouTube if you can. It's all good stuff. It'll be interesting shows. And it will be a lot of MMA and jiu-jitsu because that's, one of martial arts is my main love in life. And I just have so much respect for fighters and Joy. I've been just kind of following you, and I always had a feeling that you were going to keep pursuing this path as a warrior and go big. Uh, Talk a little bit about this show that did you just make it into this show, you and Carlene? A1, right? Is that what it is?
It's A1. So yeah, I'll tell you the history. So my history with Carlene, of course, is that we had an amateur fight together in 2020. It was in February of 2020, right before COVID shut the whole world down. And it was for the Evolution Sports Expo lightweight title, although we did the fight at 150, not 155, but regardless, it was still for their title. And anyway, and it was her first and only amateur fight. And at the time, I was 2-2 as an amateur. I TKO'd her in the second round, so that made me 3-2 as an amateur. And then COVID happened, no fights were happening for quite some time. And then my next fight back was against Julia Alonso in December of 2021. That was for the Camo State welterweight title. But again, even though it was for the welterweight title, we agreed on 160. So we both weighed in at 160. And then I fought Lauren Garcia in March of 2022 for the Valkyrie women's lightweight title, but then also the Camo State lightweight title. So that finished out my amateur career at 5-2. And then I was looking for my pro debut and having trouble finding it. Anyway, you know what? I might be off by 1 year on those dates. I think because for sure I fought Carlene February of 2020. Julia Alonso, I think actually it was December of 2022. I don't think it was 21. I think it was 22. Yeah, because I think Lauren was 23, and then because it was later that year. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so A1 offers me my pro debut against Carlene, and I said, okay, that sounds fine. And what's interesting is, she had just had the fight against me as an amateur, and then she decided to go pro. I don't know why, but anyway, she decided to go pro, and she lost her pro debut. Again, she got TKO'd in the second round. So anyway, so I was like, all right, so I'll be like her third fight ever. And yeah, and we had a great fight. I was absolutely mauling her the first 2 rounds. That second round was for sure a 10-8 round. I almost had her finished and then almost had her TKO'd. But anyway, she managed to survive. And in the third round, I just got a little aggressive on going for another takedown off of the cage. And she managed to just like use the cage and jump onto my back, which was, great move on her part. And sunk in a choke before I could, really defend it very well. And then I kind of made like a bad decision in how I was going to get out of that. And anyway, and then I got choked. So that was no fun. So she got her first and only win in that fight, and then and claimed the women's featherweight title because we were that was the inaugural women's featherweight title fight. So anyway, and then I said to Tom, like, hey, listen, I want to fight this girl, Jaylene Robledo, right away, because she's the one that came up behind me and got the camo lightweight and welterweight titles right after I vacated and went pro. And, she's a good fighter and up and coming and all that. So Tom was like, all right, and threw me right back in the mix. So 6 weeks later, I fought Jaylene. So I'm so happy I could just get right back in because sitting on a loss is the worst. So anyway, and yeah, Jaylene's quite the banger and the brawler. So we went to war for 3 rounds. I felt really good about that fight. I felt like I won all 3 rounds, felt really confident in it. I won the unanimous decision. And but then for whatever reason, A1 decided to let Jaylene and Carlene fight, which but it wasn't for the title because Jaylene lost to me. So she wasn't, eligible, I guess, for a title shot, but they still let her fight Carlene, which I will never understand quite the reasoning behind that because, I wanted that fight. So, so they fought in May and Jaylene just mauled Carlene again, like all 3 rounds, didn't manage to finish her, but really dominant, really dominant win for Jaylene. So Carlene, she's kind of a little bit of a disgraced champion. I hate to say that, but she's 1-2 as a pro, 1-3 overall in her MMA career. And anyway, and then I went on in July to fight Kaya McKillop, who was an undefeated fighter out of Canada, but she trains at Syndicate in Vegas now. When I say undefeated, I mean amateur and pro, but she only had 1 pro fight, so I fought her as a 1-0. And anyway, and I TKO'd her in the second round with elbows. I took her down and got like a good crucifix position and managed to finish the fight there. And so she's 1-1 now. But anyway, so I've had 2 fights since I last faced Carlene, and so I'm 2-1 as a pro. And just really, really, really want my rematch with Carlene because, obviously, I very much feel that I'm the better fighter, but words mean nothing. I need to get in there and I need to win and I need to prove it. So, and don't think I take her lightly. Like I don't, she's also a professional fighter. She trains really hard. She's at a serious camp with a serious team. So,
Yeah, she's a tough chick.
yes, and she is tough.
Both
That's
of you
one thing I
guys
can
are
give
tough.
her.
It's gonna be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be out there.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, and the whole point of martial arts is self-improvement in the inside and the out. And this is a really good opportunity. It's always interesting fighting somebody you've lost to before. And I've been in this situation before, and it's a good thing. It's a bit of a mental challenge, but we're in this for challenge. Like that's the whole point of doing this is to challenge oneself. So I'm looking forward to getting that rematch, having that opportunity again, that trilogy fight. And yeah, I just feel really confident. Every fight, I feel like I keep leveling up, keep making improvements. Whether I win or whether I lose, I'm still, just going to continue forward and keep making those improvements. So yeah, both my last fights were really good, and even the fight with Carlene, it was a good fight. So Yeah, I can't wait for September 6th. I mean, 3 weeks away. My camp's been going fantastic, and
It's right
get
around
that
the
A1.
corner.
Yeah, and get that A1 title, be 3-1 as a pro. Like that's my entire goal, my entire focus right now.
And this fight with her, it's for the title?
Yes, for the title.
Ooh, wow. That's awesome. Man, so I didn't count that right, but how many fights do you have altogether, amateur and pro?
I've had 7 amateur fights and 3 pro fights, so I've had 10 altogether.
Wow, man, that is a lot of experience right there. That's a crazy lifestyle to live.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's a lot of a little bit older fighters. When I say older, I don't even necessarily mean like their actual age, but they're like when they got into the sport, they just got into the sport earlier. Um, like um, like Jackie Kenneline is a good example. I don't. I'll have to look up at her topology again, but I think like Jackie didn't even have any amateur fights at all, And so it's interesting because as a professional, she's 5-3, and it's like, whoa, that's a great record. But like that's her entire record. Like she's had 8 fights. I also like I'm gonna have to look up topology and fact check myself, but from what I recall,
Well, is she an older was she an older fighter?
I think she's like 35 or 36. Yeah, she's a little older than me.
Yeah, because
But
those amateur fights weren't when I was fighting back then. Those amateur fights weren't even around. Like basically, your first fight was going into a pro show where they were paying you. They weren't paying you much, but I mean, it was considered pro because
yeah,
there just was no show like 559 fights yet.
yeah, exactly. So it's kind of interesting because I look at Jackie and the record seems kind of intimidating. It's like, wow, 5-3. She has a lot of experience over me. But then if we look at my amateur and my pro combined, right, I'm 7-3. Yeah, 7-3.
Dude, you know
So
what? It doesn't matter. They can call it amateur or pro. The bottom line is those are real fights. I've been to so many of these shows. They can call it amateur, but you guys are in there doing the exact same thing.
oh
And
yeah.
they're gnarly fights. They're real fights.
Yeah,
Um,
fight to fight. Man, and the amateur scene has just exploded. Like these amateur
oh
fights
yeah.
these days, these amateur fights are higher level than what professional fights were 5 years ago.
Yes, they are. It's true. I'm super. I'm really proud of the Valley and the promoters that have came up, and I've just watching the whole scene from back when I was younger until now. How not only the martial arts schools, but these shows that from what is that big grappling show, Fight to Win?
Yeah, fight to win, huh?
Yeah, that guy. That show is awesome right there. I went to
Yeah.
the last one. I was really impressed. Didn't you also grapple in that show?
Yeah, I'm a fight to win vet. I've had a lot of matches on fight to win.
Yeah,
Like,
that's cool. I got a feeling that show is going to continue to grow as well.
yeah, definitely.
Hey, so A1 Combat, am I saying that right? Is that Uriah Faber's show?
It is. And I don't know if I told you yet or not, but in June, I went back to training over at Team Alpha Male. Um, my coach, Daniel Brito, he's my head MMA coach. He tells me to jump. I say how high. Like Brito's, he's the one. He's in charge of my training. But he told me he wanted me to get back into Alpha Male, get some work with the team. So I marched in there on Monday. I think it was like June 8th or something. And I said, hey, can I train here? And Uriah's like, yeah. So I just signed back up, and I've been there pretty much every day since then. And it's great. I get my workout in the morning with the TAM crew, and then get like a strength and conditioning workout in. There's a personal trainer that I work with, and then run over to Brito's spot and do an hour mitts with him, and then just run home for a quick shower, run up to the gym, teach my classes in the evening, roll with my students, come home, take a shower, go to bed. Like I'm so busy. All I do is train. Yeah, and they
Teach
have a
your
wrestling.
classes. What do you mean by
Huh?
that? Are you teaching you're teaching martial art classes also?
Yeah, I own my own gym. Yep, Willis Jiu Jitsu and MMA. So yeah, I drive an hour up the freeway, and my school's a little north of Sacramento. So yeah, drive up there and teach, and that's what I do for work.
What is the name of it again?
Willows Jiu Jitsu and MMA. So That's my school. I'm the founder, the owner, the head instructor, the everything. And yeah, and that's the school I represent when I fight at Willows.
Good for you. That's so cool. That is really good of you to be doing that. You have a big kids class?
Yeah, a really big kids class. It's really awesome.
Oh yeah, I love working with kids. That's one of my favorite things is teaching kids martial arts.
Yeah. And it's
That's
just
great.
crazy because 10 years ago it was just like this pipe dream, like someday I'm going to be able to quit my job and own a gym and just do nothing but train and teach. And 10 years later, like, here we are. That's all I do. I train and I teach. So it's amazing,
Yeah,
and I work for myself.
a lot of fighters, man, they don't go that route, and they leave the fighting world when they get to a certain age, and a lot of times they don't have something to fall back on. But I think
Yeah.
one of the best things a fighter can do is open up a school and teach people, especially if you have that ability to work with people and you like doing so. You got something to fall back on, or to when your fighting career, whenever you decide to stop, you got that gym, right? Is that going to be what you do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's more than just about the money. I mean, obviously, we all need to have our means of supporting ourselves, but it's just a lifestyle. Like being a martial artist, it's a whole all encompassing. Like we live it, we breathe it. It's everything. So I can't even imagine like when I finally age out of this sport, I still want to be involved in the sport. And what better way to be involved than coach others to come up and take my place, so to speak. Teaching kids, of course, self-defense. But then some of those kids, a lot of those kids have gone on to start doing competitions themselves, and a lot of my adults have gone on to do competitions, kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, and a couple of my students, they want to get cage fights. The school's still young. I've only been open just not quite 3 years yet. It'll be 3 years in November. So none of my students are quite ready to jump in the cage yet, but in another couple years, as the school continues to grow and mature, and my original members, they continue to stick with it and grow and develop their skill set. Yeah, I'm gonna have a couple. I'm gonna have several. I'm sure in the future, several fighters that come up
That's
out of my
cool.
gym.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
so
going to be cornering them. That's going to be something else.
yeah.
Now, this has been quite a path that you've been walking on. Tell me, since the beginning of your training for fighting, how has your training evolved since your early amateur days until now? Like, who did you train with in the very beginning? And then now you're training at the Team Alpha Male, one of the best gyms in the world, in my opinion. Uriah Faber is one, he's a legend in my book. That has to be a real tough room to be training in. I imagine the knowledge is just tremendous. Tell me a little bit about that from your early days and you evolved big time to where you're at right now.
Yeah, what a great question. And man, 10 years of training, like my training has looked really different over those 10 years. So when I started at Team Alpha Male. However, I wasn't able to do the pro practices because of my schedule. And then also, in no way was I ready 10 years ago to be doing the pro practices. But I started with the public classes in the evening, just focusing on jiu-jitsu, got peer pressured into competing in jiu-jitsu. And then 4 years later, took my first little kickboxing smoker, and started competing in the kickboxing and in the MMA. Jumped into a cage fight a little too soon, a little too early, because again, I was only able to do the public classes, and I hadn't really found a coach that like I really clicked with and was able to figure something out with. But one of my original kickboxing coaches, Dion, he's actually back in town and back in my corner now. So so happy to have him involved in my training again. But anyway, as I got more serious about MMA, and I needed some sort of team and some sort of MMA coach, because that's the other thing is, people tend to be specialists in jiu-jitsu, or they're specialists in boxing or kickboxing. It's hard to find someone who's really like an MMA guy. And through the community and through the grapevine, I'd heard about Brito. I'd heard about, this guy, Daniel Brito, who just trained fighters out of his garage and stuff. And he used to work at Ultimate Fitness at Team Alpha Male. And then for a while, he worked at MMA Gold. So he's kind of been a coach around, different places. But yeah, he had gone back to his original his spot and just, just back in the garage. He preferred his independence and just working with fighters the way he wanted to work with them. And, I understand, like, as somebody who is my own boss and, I don't work for anybody else, like, there's a lot of freedom with that when you can just run your own show. So anyway, I'd heard about him. And so I sought him out in 2019, and that's when we started training together. So 5 years ago now. And man, when I came to Burrito, like, I had a lot of skills. Like, I was a purple belt at the time. I was pretty, yeah, I had already won the world championships as a purple belt at the adult level. And so I was pretty accomplished in jiu-jitsu already, but my striking was all over the place. Like, I knew a lot of random stuff, but I was missing a lot of my my foundational things. Just because, again, like, the public classes, like, it's hard for coaches to really really get people raised up right, especially because, like, look, the first thing in striking is footwork, right? And it's like learning how to jump rope. But people aren't going to keep coming back to class and keep paying to be there if all the coach is doing is making them jump rope, right? People just want to, like, throw punches and, So anyway, but when I found Burrito, he's like, okay, get on the jump rope. And silly me, like, I couldn't even jump rope. Like, I was so uncoordinated. And he's like, all right, well, first thing, you need to learn how to jump rope. And, and it's funny because, like, I knew that the only way I was going to earn his respect and the only way he was going to take me seriously is if I showed, that I'm there to work hard and I'm there to learn. And if he tells me I need to jump rope, then I'm going to jump rope. And I would show up for class 20, 30 minutes early and just get on that jump rope and just jump rope and just practice my jump roping. And he'd pop his head out of the house, come in the garage and be like, all right, keep going, and a half hour later come out and I'm still jump roping. I'm still struggling with it. And he's like, okay. And over the years, those kind of things started to, build our relationship. He was like, okay, she's serious. She really wants to do this. And, I won a couple more amateur fights. Just, I had this mindset of I'm going to take it down to the ground or I'm going to die trying, but I know if I get my hands on these Amy girls, that if I get them to the canvas, I'm going to find a way to victory. I'm going to TKO them, I'm going to submit them. So he saw that, even though I was lacking a lot of things in my skill set, I was really persistent and I was going to find a way to win. Like, I am a winner and I'm going to find a way no matter what. And, but we have just been working and working and working over the last 5 years and just, yeah, every little foundational thing, just building me. And then, when COVID hit, Ultimate Fitness kind of, it got shut down, or at least the public classes all got shut down. And so I went over to Precision because that's where my best friend Liz had started training. And Precision's a great gym, like Sarah McMahon and Chad Bingham, like, great people and a really good competitive environment over there. And then Donald Robertson, DJ Robertson, he started a kickboxing program over there. And so it's been great, being involved in that and being able to do weekend spar sessions over there. But again, it's there's no, like, MMA classes. It's jiu-jitsu and it's Muay Thai. And also it's a little tough because, Precision more has evening classes. And then when I opened my gym, now I'm forced to train in the morning and not so much in the evening because I teach in the evening. And so Burrito's like, okay, it's now like the next phase of your development. You need to be training with the MMA team, because of course I was doing MMA one-on-one with Burrito. And when I still had my normal job, I was doing MMA night classes at Burrito's. But then when I opened my gym and my schedule flip-flopped around again, then yeah, so he's like, okay, it's time to go back to Alpha Male. And so yeah, now I train in the morning with the team, and it's man, it is such a competitive environment and such a good room, like, just a bunch of killers, and everybody's really serious. Nobody's there to, like, hang out and chit chat and social hour. No. Like, you get there, you warm up, you fist bump people or whatever, hello, good morning, and then you just get to work, and everybody's there to grind, and it's just like a really good feeling in that room. And then after practice, to gather us in, and anytime you rise there, he always gives us a little speech afterwards. Talks about mindset stuff, talks about just keys to be successful in the sport. And he really is such a inspirational person and such a leader. Yeah, I'm so fortunate to be able to be around that, and I'm fortunate to just, like, have the best of all the worlds. I have that amazing training at Alpha Male. I have that amazing one-on-one coaching with Burrito. Like there's no way I'd be where I'm at if I hadn't found a coach like Rita that I really, click with, that, he cares about me, that he's like, as committed to my career as I am to my career. And, picks apart things about my technique. We get in fights sometimes because I'm getting pissed, like hate what he's showing me, making me do or whatever. But it's like, but yeah, we just work it out and just train. We're both like relentlessly focused on being the best. I'm focused on being the best fighter I can possibly be. He's focused on being the best coach he can be, and he knows that I am gonna go places. It's just all a matter of time, though. Good things take time. So yeah, what I'm always telling my students and people who tell me they want to fight, it's like just focus on having fun. Number one, like just focus on enjoying your training, because if you hate it, you're not going to stick with it. So enjoy it. But what you really need to enjoy as a person is just part of your mindset. You need to enjoy working hard. You need to enjoy even like the hard days and the bad days and the days you get whooped in the gym. You need to enjoy that because it is part of the process. And if you're dedicated to yourself and dedicated to the process, it is going to lead to great things.
And joy, everybody goes through, especially nowadays. We're living in an age where the level of stress and anxiety with people is way higher than it used to be. And how do you handle and how do you balance the mental and the physical? What do you do? I'm asking you, as a personal question, because I deal with stress and anxiety big time with work and stuff, to the point where I'll actually, because I have epilepsy, it will actually trigger seizures sometimes. When you're really stressed out or full of anxiety, what do you like to do? Do you have certain things that you like to do, like meditation or things like that? Yoga?
Nothing makes me feel better than a hard workout. So if I'm feeling stressed, I want to go to the gym. Always recenters me, always makes me feel better. If it's weird hours where the gym's not open, it's late at night, and I'm having like a little bit of a meltdown, maybe I'm having a bad moment, I just put my shoes on and I just go run. Just go run around the neighborhood. Headphones out, because if I'm running at night, I need to be like watching out. But
Yeah.
but I just gotta go like get that bad energy out of me. If I have some like weird anxiety built up in me, I just gotta go sweat it out. The other thing that makes me feel better are cold showers or ice baths. Just kind of that that it gives you like a physical reset to do that. And yeah, or if I can swim. That was something I would do in college when I would get like really stressed out about exams or whatever was going on. Going to the pool, just getting in the water, that always calms me. And then breathing exercises. So I do like to really practice holding my breath. So I'll like breathe really deeply, like do kind of like the Wim Hof method of like really hyper oxygenating, and then hold it
Uh-huh.
and put the timer on and do like 3 or 4 rounds and see how long I can hold my breath for. And my record is 440. I can hold my breath for a really long time.
Yeah,
But
I was doing that for a while too, that Wim Hof method of breathing. That's really good for you right there.
yeah,
That's
and
really, really good for you.
the only way I can hold my breath that long is doing like that Wim Hof method first, and
That
then
really quick in and out breathing for a while
uh-huh.
first, right?
Yeah, you have to get like hyper oxygenated first before you can hold your breath that long, or at least for me, I do.
That guy will probably live to be 125.
Yeah, but those are the things that really help me get myself recentered when I'm having a bad moment.
That's cool. And talk about right now too, man. This is if you look around the world, like a good 80% of the people are so unhealthy and overweight right now and just eating a lot of fast food and junk food. Talk about your nutrition and your type of diet that you normally eat, and how do you eat when you got to fight a big challenge coming up like this fight? What do you like
Yeah.
to eat?
So, it's important to keep in mind that your diet and your nutrition, you stay disciplined in the things that you eat out of love for yourself, not out of punishment or like out of self-hatred. That's not the mindset. And when I was a teenage girl, growing up in the 90s, of course, and the supermodel era, and like, yeah, and like I really struggled with my self-image, and yeah, never feeling like I could possibly be skinny enough, and just starving myself and all that. A lot of teenage girls go through that thing, and a lot of boys do too. But
Yeah, men
anyway,
do too.
yes, but as a grown adult now, and becoming an athlete, I've developed such a better relationship with my body and with myself. And again, realizing that if I don't eat certain things, it's not that I'm restricting myself or punishing myself. No, it's because like that stuff's not good for me, and I'm gonna eat something that is good for me. So it's important to have the right mindset with it. It's all act of love. So anyway, so what I eat these days is in the morning I have my vitamins, my supplements, and maybe just like a little bit of fruit or a little bit of yogurt just to help the supplements get down, because otherwise I can get a little sick to my stomach if I take it on an empty stomach. But I can't eat much. I have to just a little bit in the morning because I'm gonna go work out. And I have to stack all my workouts because I just have like 4 or 5 hours in the morning, and then I need to go up and teach. So basically, I'm working out pretty fasted, but I try to drink like a quart in the morning of water with an electrolyte packet in it. It's really important to get hydrated before you go to practice. So first thing is like drinking all that water, little decaf coffee. I'm sensitive to caffeine, so I don't have any caffeine. Um, Practice 4 or 5 hours of practice, and then come home and have a protein shake. It's important to have that protein right after a workout, and then I'll let that digest a little bit. I'll take a shower. I'll get ready to go to the gym, and then I'll have like a second like little meal. What I normally do, I have everything meal prepped ahead, and my favorite meal prep is just sauteing a bunch of vegetables and then making like an egg scramble, just like a vegetable and egg scramble, and that just stays good in Tupperware in the fridge all week. And you just throw it in a bowl and microwave it, and it tastes just as good reheating an egg scramble as it does making it fresh. Like, I swear. So try it if you haven't tried it. And then I just put like half an avocado, some hot sauce, and that's a great like high protein, kind of higher fat because it's eggs. But yeah, like extremely low carb. If you're at the phase where you're avoiding carbs. And then yeah, and then I'll pack something for like a snack at the gym. Usually like some like yogurt, or like yogurt and granola, that kind of thing, and some fruit. And then when I come home, I'll try to have something more carby, just to like carb load for the next day's workout. So I'll come home and have some pasta, or I'll have some rice, maybe like chicken or rice or something like that. But and I can eat quite a bit of food, like in the afternoon, and for dinner I do eat like pretty good portion sizes, because I do burn so many calories. But yeah, all my eating is done pretty much between 2 and 10 p.m. And then when I go to bed, and then I work out, the next day pretty much fasted. So unintentional intermittent fasting is kind of part of my lifestyle.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that's good to do. So it sounds like you eat pretty clean. That's great. Now, yeah, I mean, versus eating, it's so easy. It's so easy nowadays to eat the wrong things, and man, a lot of it is just poison that we're putting in our body.
mhm.
Another thing, what I trip on nowadays, I'm getting ready to turn 50. So from the time I was young until now, I've seen technology and the culture change quite a bit. Well, I go to college and I started the new semester yesterday, and it had been a little while since I'd been in school, but man, I was just tripping out how pretty much every single kid and student was on their phone, like nobody talking to each other. Like pretty much everybody was, no matter what they were doing, walking, sitting, they're just glued to the phone. And most of the time they're watching like TikTok or YouTube or social media. Hold on just a sec. And I would just really trip out on it though, and I feel like the phone, like you could only do so much of it. I kind of feel like it's, in a way, can make you go crazy and give you anxiety. That phone can. You see people sitting there and they're like shaking, and like just too much of it is too much of it. What do you do about the phone? Do you like to take breaks from it?
Yeah, I hate my
Do
phone. I
you
wish
even
I
mess with any of those? Do you mess with any of that, like TikTok or any of that stuff?
No, so it sucks because as a professional athlete and a professional fighter, I have to have a social media presence. I wish I didn't because I would delete that in a heartbeat. Like, I hate nothing more than social media. It's such a waste of time. And yeah, just like soul sucking. God, I hate it. But I do have to be on there some because I have to promote myself. So I'm an Instagram girl more than anything. But then X is making a comeback, you know, the old Twitter, and Threads is now starting to be a thing. So I just cross post stuff to Threads and X and to Facebook as well. I cannot. I just cannot get on board with TikTok. I just can't do it. It's too much work making it's too much work making those videos for one, and for two, I do worry about the whole privacy concerns and the fact it's like, you know, you've heard all this stuff, and I don't want to get all political, but you know, like I don't like the idea of TikTok having access to everything on my phone. So um,
No.
I
And it's
stay away.
exhausting on your mind. It only takes a couple minutes, and you're just like, you can start getting stressed out just
Yeah.
from it. And it does
Um,
trip me out. But
yeah,
go ahead,
and
sis.
the hardest part about my phone is just that because I run my own business, I mean, I have to be replying to customers' messages and posting about my gym and schedules and classes and yeah, like the website. Like, there's a lot that I do on my phone just for work. But yeah, like my hiatus from my phone is when I'm training. You know, I don't look at my phone at all when I train. Um, and that's really nice. And then, you know, when I drive, again, like I'll put a podcast on, I'll put music on, but I really try to stay off the phone when I drive. It's so dangerous to be looking at your phone.
I
um
know.
and then
Most
when I'm
people are driving with their phone though nowadays. Most people that I see, because they took my license away, I'm on a scooter or a bike. You know, pretty much 100% of the time. And every time I see somebody in a car, they're driving with the phone in one hand and like literally like just using their upper peripheral vision on the road. So people
Yeah,
have
it's
gotten
so
used to
bad.
it though. It trips me out how used to it. I used to see it a little bit, but now it's all the time I see it. So
Yeah,
yeah, you gotta be careful if you're out there. You got to really watch yourself if you're on a bike or a scooter like I have to do.
yeah, and it's so easy to get like over busy, you know, and just be like cramming in more things. And yeah, that time in the car, people will be on their phone trying to catch up on replying to messages or doing things, whatever, emails. But yeah, it's just balance, you know. We have to have our phones some because they do make life way more convenient and things can get done really quickly on the phone, but you can't get like glued to it and have it yeah, take over your life. And I do think phones cause depression. I really do. I think
Yeah, the phone. I agree with you 100%. And I've had cell phones since the very first flip Motorola, and then just kept on going up until now. And yeah, there's a lot of good things you can do from the phone, and you can definitely promote yourself. You can sell things, and you can learn. I've gotten a ton of knowledge, off of YouTube. Well, probably one of my favorite channels to go to. And yeah, so there's a good and bad. You can go either way with it. But what about reading, Joy? Do you like to read books at all? Do you like
I
reading?
love I love to read. When I was a kid, I was such a bookworm. My dad did not like television, so he pretty much would let us watch it. Like, we watched it a little bit, but like my dad was like super anti-television, which looking back, I'm glad he was that way. Um, but yeah, I loved reading as a kid, and then I've just gotten really busy as an adult and haven't made a lot of time for it until recently because I'm trying really hard to learn Spanish actually, and I've been studying like daily for a year and a half, and did like the entire Babbel app, like the beginner, intermediate, advanced levels, everything. And then the next phase of my learning is I just read a lot of books, but they're all in Spanish. So my reading skills have really like gone through the roof. Still can't speak Spanish to save my life, just to be clear. like I
I
try, but
actually
I'm
just
awful.
started. I started my first class yesterday was Spanish too.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
You know what? I've never even taken Spanish one. I've just learned like all the basics from because I grew up with nothing but Mexicans, And so I had a lot of the basics down, and I figured out, oh, you can just go in Spanish too, no problem, bro. And so I crashed the course and I went into it, and I did all right, but I mean, I was totally lost with a lot of it. But I did do well enough for the teacher let me crash the course. So yeah, we're both doing Spanish. Maybe a year from now, we'll be able to have a little conversation in Spanish.
Totally.
Spanish.
But yeah, it's like it's a puzzle, it's a brain game, and it's really
It's
fun,
good for
and
you.
it is. I think it's really mentally stimulating, and yeah, and I read the books on the Kindle for the most part. That way, when I come across words I don't know, I can just highlight them and then be like, oh, okay, that's what it is, and then it'll just give me the translation. And but it's a great way to learn, and yeah, it fulfills that old pleasure of reading that I would get, have so much fun reading back when I was a kid. And then also I'm learning something and I'm keeping myself mentally stimulated in a different way.
Yeah, books, man. I have to be careful and pick and choose what books that I choose to take on. Like, there's been a couple books I've read in my life that have like totally changed my. I'll read the book and just get into the guy's story so much where it's completely changed my path. Have you ever heard of? He's an ultra marathon runner named. His name is Dean Karnazes.
Uh-uh.
Do you know what those are? Ultra marathons. They're like 50-mile runs and longer.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Well, at one time in my life, when I was back when I was younger, still competing in jiu-jitsu, a friend of mine, he goes, "You want to get inspired? I want you to read this book." And I didn't even know what the ultra marathon running was yet. It was called Ultra Marathon Man. And man, if you want to check out a good book, anybody out there that you want some inspiration, his name is Dean Karnazes. The book is Ultra Marathon Man, and it goes through his life and story of how he got into these 100-mile races through the mountains. And
Wow.
there's a race that's still around today. It's called the Western States 100. It's a 100-mile race that goes through the mountains. It's really something else. Anyhow, I read that book and I completely changed my life, like on the spur. And I got into those ultra marathon runs. And I wanted to get it. I wanted to see if I could do one of those 100-mile races in the 24 hours. And so I just got, from the book, I got completely engulfed. And yeah, it's a trip what books do for me. So there's another guy too. Have you ever heard of? You've obviously heard of Tai Chi and Qigong, like that style of martial arts.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of this guy? He's another guy that I'm into. His name is Mantak Chia. Have you heard of him?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so this guy, he's a real old dude. He's a master in Qigong, that art of energy. It's a ancient Chinese martial art. Um, Real interesting stuff. Anybody, if you want to get into something interesting, if you're a martial artist, it's a lot of meditation. It's a lot of breathing techniques and things like that. It goes hand in hand with fighting for sure.
Okay.
Another cool guy to check out. He's got all kinds of videos on YouTube. Anyhow, Joy, another thing I wanted to ask you is, you know, women and professional MMA is growing rapidly. How do you see this women fighting it and how it changes the sport? And where do you see the sport going with professional women mixed martial arts?
Yeah, it's so neat because MMA is the one sport professionally where men and women compete side by side. I mean, not against each other, obviously, but side by side. You watch these UFC cards. There's a male fight, there's a women's fight, another men's fight. And the men and the women get the same exposure, and at different times, of course, the men and the women get the same pay, or maybe the women even getting the better pay. In the Ronda Rousey era. So. But it's really, really cool that I feel like it's the one professional sport where the men and women really are equals and treated as equals and equal promotion. And it's funny because I feel like people who don't know much about the sport, they have this idea that it's all just like, meatheads and, these like bald, roided out dudes like, and hey, in a lot of ways it is, but but like there's a place for everyone in martial arts, and especially in mixed martial arts cage fighting. There's room for everyone, every nationality, every ethnicity, everyone's represented. So it's awesome. Yeah, like I'm sure you remember that whole comment Meryl Streep made during COVID, something about like the martial arts and how they're like, but that is not the martial arts, and or that's not the arts or something. But like again, that just represents what ignorant people, ignorant to the sport, people who just don't know about the sport. They have this idea about it, but man, those of us who are in it, it just couldn't be farther from the truth. Like mixed martial arts, it's such an art, and fighting, such a beautiful thing. And yeah, there's something for everyone in it. So yeah, it's really, really cool to see more and more women get into the sport, more weight classes for the women. Back when I first started, and was just training, there wasn't really any women's featherweight. There weren't any women's featherweights out there. 135 is really the biggest weight class. And it was really, it really was just the 135 weight class that was popular because of Ronda Rousey. But then, as time's gone on, we have all these different weight classes now, and then all these different promotions, competitors to the UFC have sprung up, and yeah, it's all good. It's all just, nothing but good things. And there's so many more opportunities now, and different ways to make money in the sport, and different ways to have a path. Like there's different paths in this sport now. So it's exciting, and I'm constantly working on myself and working to reinvent myself, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds, both for myself as a fighter and then also like post fighting. I'm going to be in this for my whole life, so I'm nothing but just super excited for the future.
Yeah, well, right now, I'll tell you what, man. If I think you're on the right path, and like I said, I see you. If you do the right things, you're going to make it to the next step. This show you're getting ready to fight in, I look at it, and it is, in fact, it's A1 is a feeder show into the next level up. And now, a lot of us, as fighters, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, that's like the top of the mountain right there. We all want to get to that. I mean, who doesn't want to fight in the UFC? But there's other things out there as well. One of my favorite shows that's on the rise right now, and I think it's one of the greatest, is One Championships. Do you ever watch that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And wow, for those who don't, a lot of people don't know about it. It's get online and look at it. It used to be One FC. They're based out of Singapore in Asia, and man, they have some of the, from what I've seen, some of the best fighters in the world, and they're over there. A lot of times they do the show in Thailand, and now that One Championships, they're holding shows right there in Lumpini Stadium. And if you guys don't know what that is, Lumpini Stadium is a world-renowned Muay Thai kickboxing stadium, and like Thailand is one of the probably the best places in the world from the beginning to learn Muay Thai. And they're it's really a trip. The Thai people, those guys will start training when they're like 5, 6 years old. And some of the guys I see fight, their records are like 150 fights in 5 that they'll have in kickbox. It trips me out. But like the other thing I think would be so awesome if you were to get the call to fight in one is the journey that you would get out of that, and the experience would be really amazing. Just to travel to Thailand and see that culture, and maybe stay there for a month or whatever, have your fight there, and it would be something that most people don't get to do. Would you take that if they called you?
100%. Oh my gosh, 100%. I would love that. Yes, and I'm just all ears and eyes open to any opportunity that comes my way.
They're going to be coming your way, man. This fight you got coming up, you and Carlene both. Whatever the results are, you and her both are really good fighters, and there's a lot of big eyes that are on this show, and they're going to be on that show that night. There's really good fights going on. I got a student that I train with at Crisp Kickboxing. It's one of my friends here in town, Darren Crisp. Just open up his gym, guys. It's called Crisp kickboxing. Anyhow, they do MMA and jiu-jitsu as well. They've got like 3 guys fighting on your card that night.
Nice.
JJ Madrid's one of them. The other kid, I forget his name because I'm new there. He's fighting for a belt that night. And man, I was rolling with this guy the other night, and these kids were they were just eating me up alive. They were being gentle with me, you know what I mean? They were being respectful, but they're getting ready for fights. And yeah, it was cool though. Anyhow, yeah, I'm gonna be there that night, and I know that the people that are gonna be watching that show, they're looking for fighters to bring up into the UFC, and there's a chance, win or lose, for a lot of fighters. Go out there and do the best you can do. Be respectful to the fighter afterwards, is very important. Don't be foolish like a lot of people can be. Whatever happens, be very respectful. And man, go out there and just do the best. I know you've been training hard, and these next couple of weeks are very important. Everybody has their own thing they do the last couple of weeks. I don't need to tell you what to do. Just make sure that you take each day at some point of the day and get in that alone space and close your eyes and relax and breathe and just see in your head, man, the outcome you wanted that day in that fight. You know what I'm talking about. I think it's really important, and it's really beneficial to people that can do that. This is for anybody out there. You're getting ready for a jiu-jitsu tournament. Maybe you got a job interview coming up, or maybe you want to ask somebody out, or whatever it is. But especially if you got a fight coming up, I mean, it is real good to get in your mental space and relax and see what you want to go down and just see the outcome in the future, how you want it to happen. And man, trust me, I've done it plenty of times. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of times it does work, and you will get that outcome. But man, I'm stoked. I'm really, really stoked. I'm proud of you too, because a lot of people, Joy, they start this mission. Even myself, I had like 4 fights. I won a couple, and after I lost a couple, I was like, I'm cool with it. It takes a lot for a person to keep going. I mean, more than 5 fights in a cage is something, but to have 10 fights is really something, in my opinion. So I got a lot of respect for you and her. Now, do they pay decently out there? You don't have to talk about your pay, but do they pay all the fighters out there? It's all pro?
Oh, I'll talk about it, because I think if it's embarrassingly low, then people need to know about it. But they pay me $1,000 to show up and $1,000 to win. And I'm very snoopy. So when I'm signing the CSAC thing, and there's it lists everybody's pay, like the highest paid person on that card is like $2,500 to show, $2,500 to win. Most people are making like $500 to show, $500 to win, $800. But yeah, it's all between 5 and 5, 8 and 8, 1,000, 15, or and the highest I saw was 25. Like it's not great, but
it's not
we all
great,
know that. We all know that.
Mine was my fights were way, way lower than that when I was fighting out there. So yeah, that's good in my eyes. Plus, like I said, you have the opportunity that you're getting. Yeah, it's better than most for sure.
Yeah, but I really hope that fighter pay continues to get pushed up, because look, they're selling out. They're selling out a stadium at the Hard Rock. Like I hope they just continue to do better to push that pay a little higher for us fighters. I mean, we really are working hard for that money.
Yeah, I hope you go out there and win that belt, and then you get that phone call to the big show. That's my plan for you. You know what I mean? I can see that happening.
I hope so too.
Yeah, you know what? Whatever happens, you're doing something crazy. I got so much respect for warriors that go out there. You're doing something. Any fighter that goes out there, even onto a jiu-jitsu mat, a boxing ring, a kickboxing ring, or a cage, and you go out there in pretty much your underwear, and you're fighting in front of thousands of people. Normally your friends, your close friends, your family, your mom, your dad might be there, your coach, your team, and all these people you don't know. And then on top of that, now it's online too, and it's pay-per-view. So you could be fighting in front of the whole world. There's a very small percentage of people that will have the nerve and the bravery to do something like that. So I got a lot of respect for that. And one thing that I trip out on is, I've been out of fighting now for 20 years or more. And the way that you get treated by people, it can go both ways. There's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that will show you respect and they're respectful for what you did. And then there's a lot of people that just hate on it because you did something that they wouldn't do. Now I know men go through that a lot. It's something I experience even at work with a lot of people. Like some people respect it, but like a lot of people though, man, you can just tell, you can see it in their eyes, like they don't like it. How do they treat? Have you experienced that, or I don't know if women go through that, and you're still fighting, so you may not go through it. But how is it? How have people changed with the way that they treat you since you started doing this?
It's all over the place. Some people think it's really cool and they want to know all about it. Other people are like, what? Oh, you do what? And you can just see like this look of like disgust in their face, like, oh, but that's fine. It's not for everybody. So I just don't let it bother me, but most people think it's cool.
Good, good. Yeah, most people think it's cool. It's a trip. It trips me out. You know what I mean? It trips me out. So your normal week, are you right now? Are you taking any days off, or what do you do to train? Like 6 days and one day off?
I train. I take Thursday and Sunday off actually because I train so hard the other 5 days. I train 5 to 6 hours a day the other 5 days, so I do need the 2 rest days. But yeah, I'm in the thick of it right now. This week's a hard week. Next week will be a hard week, and then I'll start backing off just a little bit. But I like to train pretty hard right up until the fight. I feel like if I take the foot off the gas too early, it gets me like out of my mentality. Like I like to have like a hard spar session the week before the fight, and I let everybody know like try not to KO me because I do have to fight
Yeah.
in a week. But like I need to smack people the week before my fight. I can't be like going too light. I need to push.
Now what? Now what the weight cut? Is there any kind of like heavy weight cut that you have to do for this weigh-in, or are you
Um,
right around where you need to be?
I walk around at 160 and I diet a little bit the week before, and then I cut 12 in water, and it's an easy cut. I mean, it sucks to do it; it always sucks, but it's very doable and yeah, relatively easy. So no complaints here. 45 is my weight class.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Everything sounds great. It sounds like you're on the right path and doing the right thing. I got a couple more questions that I wanted to ask you, and then we'll close this up so you can get back to your lifestyle. How do you balance? Right now, you have a real physical demand, a mental demand, and how do you handle the pressure and the expectations that are coming along with this rise in fame with what you're doing?
I don't think about it too much, honestly. And my focus is on my gym and my students and my school and just being the best martial artist I can be. I'm not really famous yet, although I'm getting more and more well known. So that's cool. But I'm still me. I'm still the same person. So what you see is what you get. I'm not going to change. Well, I will
Good,
change, but
that's a good
for the
answer.
better. Yeah.
All right, and now I'm training with the right now with the young lady too. She is making her debut also coming up here real quick. There's a lot of young women that are getting into the sport. What advice do you give other young women who aspire to be a professional fighter in their life?
Just
What real
enjoy
advice
it.
do you give them?
Just enjoy it, because 10 years ago, if you had told me that I was going to be a professional fighter and I was going to be fighting for a title in a professional, like a fairly well-known up and coming professional promotion, I would have absolutely freaked out. I would have been like, I don't even know how to throw a jab. I don't know what to do if somebody hits me, but I don't know this. I don't know that. Look, don't put all the pressure on yourself. Just enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, have fun, embrace training, and just learn. Just be an empty cup and just learn. And the fights will come, and the results will come, and the titles will come. But it's all just a matter of time. You know, one of my favorite sayings, I'll just leave you with this. It's a Buddhist saying. It's like, where am I? Here. What time is it? Now. That's it. Those are the only two questions you need to answer. And those are the answers. The here and now. It's the present. Don't trip about the future.
Those are all good answers. That's awesome. Well, you know what? Before we close it out, I want to give props out to Uriah Faber and that show that you're putting on out there. You're giving, you're giving these fighters something that they can get into, and they might be able to, from your show, get to the next level. So props to Uriah Faber, and also props to all the local martial art gyms right here in Visalia. There's too many to name, but I'm really proud of all the jiu-jitsu schools and the kickboxing schools and how the scene right here in Visalia has grown so big. And I'm proud that I was able to interview you. Like, you were one of my first interviews, and I've been able to watch you grow. And man, I have a feeling that, you're going to make it to one of these big shows and people are going to want to learn more about you. And hopefully, that's how people learn. They go start looking at podcasts, and maybe they'll see my podcast one of these times, huh?
Heck yeah.
It just takes that.
I'll tell you what, when I get signed to the UFC, you'll be the first interview I give.
That'll be awesome. Hey, all it takes is that one guy to share this, one of my videos, and get all the, you know what I mean? Get all the multi-million views. Even if I don't, hey, this is like a therapy. Whoever I talk with, like this talk we just had, was really good for my mind. The last year with this epilepsy and what I've been going through, I was spending way too much time alone. And I was really getting away from talking with my friends and going to the gym and having long conversations with people. And man, it's like they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. And you really do. If you don't talk with people or read and keep those things up, guys, I just noticed all of a sudden when I went and had a sit down with a buddy that my conversation skills had went down, and I was like, whoa, man, I got to kick this back up. You know what I mean? So that's why I signed back up to the next semester at school and got back with these podcasts again. Gives me a chance to talk with cool people like you. Hey, and one of the next guests I got coming on the show, she's an old ultra marathon runner, and it's going to be a really cool show. I'll post it, and you guys please help me and Joy, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and please share this video on any outlet you can, guys. You'd really help me and Joy out. And props to MMA Fight Pass, Archie Tovar, Chris Ronquillo, and you, Joy. Thank you very much. And you have a good night. Hey, in the rest of your training camp, I wish you the best. And I'll see you out there at that fight.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you September 6th.
All right, sister. You have a good night. Thank you very much.
Bye.